So it really does make sense that, they are starting to go to plan B, and plan B obviously starts with pitching, and now it's defense and offense where he can play first base or center field, most likely center field, I would think, and then maybe Judge moving over to right field, but we'll see how that all plays out in spring training and see whether or not they go after somebody else like an Alex Bregman and see whether or not, the Yankee fan believes that they are doing the right thing. So we sit here right now, they lose Juan Soto, we get through all of that, and now they are reacting in kind, and I think they added 3 really good baseball players to a team that could use 3 really good baseball players.
Yeah.
And, you slot him in this lineup, and I would think that he will have a much better year than he had last year. He should be excited about joining this lineup and hitting either in front of or behind Aaron Judge. So all of that stuff from Cody Bellinger's standpoint has got to be great. I mean, if I'm him and I wake up this morning, I am feeling like I can't wait for baseball season to start because I would be excited coming to the New York Yankees.
Yeah, and he's when he's on, obviously he won the 2019 MVP. That was his best season. And when he's on, he's one of the more aesthetically pleasing baseball players to watch, both in the field and at bat. I mean, he's got one of the sweetest swings in the game from the left-handed side. Obviously, that should help with the short porch out there. He's a really good defensive player in a bunch of different places. But, his numbers were down last year. His power numbers were way down. He had over 40 home runs in 2019 when he won the MVP, only 18 last year. But you would imagine on a better team in this lineup that he could absolutely thrive, and he's 29. It's not like you're bringing in a 34-year-old, and now they got to decide. Are they going to use Bellinger at first base a lot? Are they going to use Ben Rice there? Are they still going to go and pursue someone like Christian Walker or Pete Alonso at first base? So there's still some things to be done, but this team, obviously, Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner, and everybody over there after losing Juan Soto was not like, all right, maybe this is a transition period. They know that Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole are still in their prime, and they got to make a run at it, especially in a weak American League that got them to the World Series last year pretty easily.
Yeah, I would think that, with their starting pitching now, their new closer, this multi-dimensional baseball player, and they're not done adding yet. They still have plenty of money and plenty of room to add a couple more players. We'll see whether or not they're going to be big-time players. The other thing about Cody Bellinger, it's a 2-year contract. It's basically what he has.
Yeah.
So you have 2-year contract, and he could be a trade candidate in a year and a half, and that could be an asset for them as well, if, in fact, they have to go down that road as well. So those are things that you can't predict. Those are only things that you can just look forward to the future and say, all right, we got a 2-year deal with this guy. If he lives up to it, then maybe we extend him again. Or, in a year and a half, we may trade him at the trade deadline. You never know. So these are all things that, you have to take into account when you sign players like this, when you make trades for players like this. And for me, just sitting as a non-Yankee fan, I think they've done a really good job of doing what they should be doing in light of losing Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with any of the moves. I mean, obviously, giving Max Fried that many years at the back end is not going to be something that will be palatable. But if you wanted him, you had to do that. You had to guarantee him those 8 years to get him for the first 3 or 4 years to have the best years out of him. You have to deal with the back end. So that's something that they had to do. But, yeah, I also, you're always cautious about bringing in these pitchers and paying them a lot of money that may not pitch in well in New York or may not mix. But, we'll see how that pans out. Hopefully it's more, a Garrett Cole situation for Max Fried as opposed to a Carlos Rodon situation for Max Fried. But, yeah, I think if you're a Yankee fan, you're happy. You're excited about this offseason. You're happy that you guys are in Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner not sitting around and sitting on their hands. They're going out there and they're being proactive, and they're going to make sure that they capitalize while Aaron Judge is still the best player, the best hitter in baseball, at least in the regular season. And you have an ace who won a Cy Young just a year ago. So that's what you got to do. And I feel like I'm talking lots of baseball lately, man. Like even on and off the air.
Yeah, a lot of things are happening, though.
Jesus, man. Even off the air yesterday, we were hanging around with a couple baseball guys. We were doing man stuff and having a man dinner and talking baseball there.
Yeah,
we can't talk enough about talking so much baseball.
Yeah, you're with Franco Leiter and Jason Marquis.
That's right.
What he's supposed to be talking. So, and I threw a question out there because, I was doing an interview and I wanted to know if there's anything that they could change or would want to change in baseball if they could. One thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure really what anybody said. What Jason had a good point. You know what?
All right, this is all right. I think I remember. John Franco said the throws over to first base.
Right, you can't limit.
You can't limit throws over to first base.
Okay, yep.
Al Leiter said, "I've got something that's so wacky we don't have time for. I don't feel like explaining it." That was his answer to that. And
what did Jason say?
Was it adding to the? I don't know what it was. I don't remember. Was it adding to the roster or something? Or is that
was me.
I don't remember what he said. I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest with you. But I mean, those guys also love the game the way the game is. You know?
Yeah, they all seem to like the pitch clock. Initially, they didn't like it, but now they do like it. And obviously, all three are pitchers. So
yeah. I was in my, because the 99 and 2000 Mets, you know, you have a wheelhouse when you're growing up a fan as a teenager.
This is a wheelhouse spot for you?
It was a wheelhouse spot for me because you got to think, so I was a junior and senior in high school during those times.
Okay.
So I'm playing high school baseball. You know, Neil Heaton's my coach. I can go to games. At Shea Stadium, I went to a ton of games. Like that was those guys were my guys. You know, Piazza, Franco, Leiter, Edgardo Alfonso, all those guys. So I'm like, all right, I don't want to be that fanboy guy who's bugging them. I got to find like interesting questions for them, and I felt like I did that because I could tell when someone's like rolling their eyes, having to answer the same thing over and over again in their careers or whatever. So I found like little things that I thought that they would appreciate.
Let me tell you something about us egotistical ex-athletes.
You just love talking about yourselves?
Well, we sit down next to somebody who really likes us and who really thinks, you know, back to when we were actually a thing.
Yeah.
And then you bring those things up. We're going to love it. So,
yeah.
you know, I could see Leiter. He was just like lighting up every time you were asking him something.
Yeah, well.
Hey, you know, how about that game that you pitched in Cincinnati?
Well, I know that, right. Well, that was the big one. I said, is that your favorite? Because you guys were talking a lot about Cincinnati, and I was like, is your favorite professional career in Cincinnati has to be that one-game playoff in the 1999 season where you pitched against the Reds? And he goes, oh, yeah, absolutely. Then he told a story about how, because it was like a late game, and he said all the college kids had somehow descended upon the stadium that day. He said he'd never seen a drunker crowd and rowdy crowd in Cincinnati in his life. He felt like he was pitching in Philadelphia. And as he was warming up, they're screaming at him because where you warmed up in the bullpen there, they're right on top of you.
Yeah, I think it was right down the left field or right field line.
And he said that juiced him up and got him to
see that
a different level. And I was like,
you got an answer you didn't even expect that.
Yeah.